143 million orphans in the world. That means that there are over 143 million children without parents, without family, and without someone to love them. Now imagine if you had a child that you know you aren't going to be able to take care of them and decide adoption is your best option. Would you rather your baby get passed around from foster home to foster home until they are 18, or would you rather your child be adopted by a couple that are ready to dedicate their lives into giving this baby the life it deserves, even though it's two men? Now what if, even though both of these men are educated with stable jobs and will give your baby all the love it needs, aren't allowed to adopt it because they're gay? As a strong advocate for equal rights, it baffled me that this was even a question that needed to be asked, which is what led me to my research on the rights of gay adoption. I'd like to start off with a blunt quote: "Banning gay adoption hurts children." The American Psychological Association, the Child Welfare League of America, the National Association of Social Workers, the American Medical Association, the North American Council on Adoptable Children, the American Psychoanalytic Association, the American Academy of Family Physicians, and the American Academy of Pediatrics have all said the same thing. What I want you to get out of this speech today is, if you support the issue, some reassurance. If you're on the fence, hopefully I can convince you to why gay adoption is a good thing. And if you're against it, hopefully I can open your eyes to the logical reasons of why gay adoption isn't a bad thing. In fact, it's a necessary thing. According to udebate.com, there's a shortage of adoptive and foster parents in the United States. Just to give you some statistics, there are 500,000 kids in foster care, 100,000 that need adoption, and only 20,000 were ready for adoption last year. Today I'm going to talk about the current status on gay adoption rights. Then I'll present the counter-arguments on gay or GLBT adoption, and finally present the benefits to gay adoption. First, what's going on with gay adoption? When it comes to the current status on gay rights and adoption, Florida is the only state that outright bans gay adoption for both singles and couples. According to lesbianlife.about.com, other states such as Arkansas prohibits adoption to unmarried couples, which essentially eliminates gays from adopting, considering a gay person is either single or in an unwed relationship because gay marriages aren't recognized as a legal union. Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Utah are all either considering or have recently considered bans on gay and lesbian foster and/or adoption. According to Michael Jones, the communications director for the Human Rights Program at Harvard Law School, Judge Cindy Letterman is scheduled to rule on Florida's ban of gay adoption later this month. When looking at the reason why Florida decided to place the ban and then looking at the experts, such as University of South Carolina professor George A. Records, credibility should be questioned, considering he not only supports the banning of gay adoption, but also supports the banning of Native American adoption, because some supposed research shows that Native Americans are at a much higher risk of mental illness and substance abuse. This just doesn't seem like the type of research we should be relying on. The first counter-argument I will present to you is, children who grew up in a gay household will turn gay. This is probably one of the most frequently used and least legitimate excuses, considering that there is now substantial scientific evidence that homosexuality is a result of biology rather than decision, according to allpsych.com. Of course, there are exceptions, but in general, a person does not have control over their sexual orientation. In fact, just recently in our psychology class, we learned that straight females and gay males have similar brain structure and similar reactions to sex hormones. Another part of this argument, according to udebate.com, is that children raised in a homosexual household are more likely to experiment with homosexuality themselves. This is a hard one to argue, especially with how open homosexuality is becoming in our culture today. It's too hard to prove that someone experimenting with a same-sex partner is a result of their parents' sexuality or because of curiosity caused by society. As long as a gay couple gives their children normal exposure to straight couples, there is no reason that they can be blamed for turning their child gay. If a gay couple's child ends up being gay, they most likely would have been gay anyways. The second counter-argument I will be presenting to you is, a gay household is an unstable household, as in stability means a female mother and a male father. I'd like to start off my rebuttal on this topic with a quote. The scientific research on GLBT parenting is far from over, but just about every mainstream study concludes that children raised in same-sex households are just as physically and mentally healthy as those raised in opposite-sex households. The only difference comes from the perception of gender roles. But if you haven't noticed, our society in the past few decades has largely rejected traditional gender roles. This quote taken from the Miami New Times. But while we're on the topic of non-traditional families causing instability, let's look at a few examples. A single-parent household, maybe grandparents raising kids, maybe it's a mom and a grandmother, which means no fatherly figure, just to name a few. Would you say children growing up in all of these households would be considered unstable as well? Who's to say a male and female household would be more stable anyways. There could be a traditional male-female household where the father is an alcoholic and the mother is a druggie. Is this really better than a gay couple who are both stable and working? Stability doesn't come from the sexual orientation of a couple, but from the type of nurturing and loving environment a person offers a child. The third counter-argument I'm going to present is, children who grew up in gay families are more likely to be ridiculed in school. I could use the argument that children are just nicer nowadays and aren't going to make fun of kids for being different, but that would be a lie. I'll be honest, children can be mean, but what's considered taboo nowadays is changing. For example, in the 1960s, when public schools were being integrated, children would be ridiculed for the color of their skin. Nowadays, it honestly doesn't matter what color your skin is, because having a different colored skin wouldn't be considered something out of the ordinary anymore. The same thing with homosexuality. People are becoming much more open about it. You now see it on popular TV shows such as The OC and Grey's Anatomy. Thus, it's just not going to be a big deal to hear that someone's parents are gay. I would like to now leave you with one final thought for the benefits of gay adoption. If you think about gay couples are actually amazing candidates for adoptive parents. You know a gay couple is going to love and take care of the child because of their decision to adopt this child. Unlike many pregnancies that can be considered accidents, when a gay couple comes to adopt a child, they have obviously taken time to think about their decision and know this is what they want and are prepared for. This type of eagerness to love any child would deserve, so why deprive them of that chance of a family? So, if you are in support, I hope I've reassured you. If you are on the fence, I hope I've persuaded you. And if you were in disagreement, I hope your eyes have been opened. I have now presented to you the current status on gay adoption rights, presented to you various counter-arguments, and throughout this whole speech, proven why gay adoption would be in the best interest of children needing to be adopted. So again, I'll ask you, if your baby was to be put up for adoption, would you rather than be bounced around in foster homes or adopted by a loving gay couple offering them a chance at a family?